Hi guys, today we are going to be starting chapter 4. And chapter 4 is on trigonometric functions. And trigonometry means the study of triangles. So it's going to seem a little strange that a lot of what we're going to be talking about today is going to look like circles. But we'll talk about how that relates to trigonometry later. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to talk about is our first example. What quadrant does each angle lie in? And draw a sketch of each angle in standard position. I think what is going to be new to you is this standard position. Okay, and standard position means that we are going to draw these angles on the Cartesian plane. So the first thing when I want to figure out where these angles are and drawing them in a sketch in standard position is I want to draw my coordinate plane. And what's new here is that your initial side, where you're starting, is always the positive x-axis. Okay, so I'm going to start on the positive x-axis. And I want to go 135 degrees. Hopefully, you remember that a right angle, like the y and the x-axis make, is 90 degrees. So I am going to go 90 degrees. And then hopefully you'll realize that 135 is 90 plus another 45. So I'm going to draw in a 45-degree ray like this, and an arrow to finish my arc. Okay, so this is how we would draw 135 degrees in standard position. Okay, the angle goes 90 degrees and then 45 more. Okay, so we can see that this is in quadrant 2. Okay, in my sketch, you do not have to be super anal here, okay? But you know that 45 is about the middle here. So if you graphed it super close to the y-axis, you would lose points. If you graphed it super close to the x-axis, you would lose points. Okay, so you want something right in the middle. Our next one, 30 degrees. Again, I am going to start by drawing my coordinate plane. I am always going to start at 0, and I should mention moving positive angle measure actually goes counterclockwise, if I didn't say that already. So here would be 90 degrees, 180 degrees, 90 times 3 would be 270 degrees, and 360 degrees. And if you think about that, right angle is 90 degrees, a straight line. Okay, if you think about the x-axis would be 180 degrees. 3/4 of the way around a circle would be 270 degrees. The whole way around the circle would be 360 degrees. So again, I am starting on my initial side. I want to go 30 degrees. So I know this is 90 degrees. So about a third of the way up would be 30 degrees. I can see that that is in quadrant 1. Okay, let's try letter C. So 250 degrees. Again, I am going to start with my coordinate plane. When I have a positive angle, I always move counterclockwise. So I'm starting at 0, which is on my positive x-axis. I am going 90 degrees, 180 degrees. I'm sorry, you can't see past my hand. So I went 90 degrees and then 180 degrees. If I went all the way down, I would be at 270 degrees. So I want to go, this is 180, this is 270. So 250 is 70 degrees from 180. So I am going to estimate that about there. Okay, again, it doesn't have to be perfect. Also, another thing I forgot to mention, I always draw an arrow at the end of my angle, okay, to show the direction that I was moving in. Okay, and I can see that this is in, here's quadrant 1, quadrant 2, this is quadrant 3. And our last one looks a little different, right? This time I'm trying to do negative 60 degrees. So I am going to draw my coordinate plane. I am going to start at 0, but this time I want to go negative 60 degrees. So anytime that we have a negative degree measure or angle measure, we are going to move in the clockwise direction. So here, this would be 0, this would be negative 90, negative 180, negative 270, negative 360. So if I want to go negative 60 degrees, I know that this would be negative 90. So I'm going to go about 2/3 of the way. And again, I'm drawing my angle to show that this is a negative angle. Okay, I'm drawing my arrow, and I can see that this is in quadrant 4. So, for example 2, they want us to find a positive angle that is less than 360 degrees that is coterminal with each angle. So coterminal. Co means together, terminal means ends. So all this means is that they end together. So we are going to start by drawing a sketch of 415 degrees in standard position. So again, we start by drawing our Cartesian plane. I am going to start at 0. I'm going in the positive direction, so I'm going counterclockwise. 90 degrees, 180 degrees, 270 degrees. When you come up on 360 degrees and you know you need to go further, you make it look a little bit like a spiral. You don't close the circle, okay? And then I need to go to 415, which I realize is, this would be 360, another 90 would put me at 450. So I realize that this is 55 degrees. So I'm going a little further than I did for my 45, but I'm ending my angle there. And I can see that this was 55 degrees. And if you can't do that in your head, okay, you're thinking that 415 minus the 360 is going to give you 55 degrees. Okay, our next one. Sorry, I should have mentioned, and 55 degrees is good because it's a positive angle and it's less than 360 degrees. And if we drew in 55 degrees, it would end at the same place as 415 degrees. So our next one, we have negative 160 degrees. So again, we are starting at 0. I know that this, if I went negative 90, negative 180, this would get me to negative 180. I can see that I am about 20 degrees, or I am 20 degrees shy of that. So this is my negative 160 degrees. I can see that right here, I have 20 degrees. So I want to find the positive angle that gets me from 0 and ends at the same place as negative 160. So I can also see that this right here is 180 degrees. So if I add 180 degrees plus another 20 degrees, I get that this would be 200 degrees. Okay, so 200 degrees and negative 160 degrees end in the same place. And let's see, if we had a whole circle, if we had negative 160 degrees and I added 360 degrees to it. So if I'm here and I add 360, I am going to end at 200 degrees. Okay, so that is another thing that you can do to find an angle measure between that's positive and between 360. You can either add 360 repeatedly until you get to something that's between 0 and 360, or in the case if you say they gave you an angle measure that was like 1080, you could actually subtract 360 repeatedly until you got something between 0 and 360. Okay, our next one, example 3. Hopefully this is coming back to you from geometry. So complement means that the two angles add to 90 degrees, and supplement means that the angles add to 180 degrees. Okay, I always try to remember 90 comes before 180, C comes before S. So that's how I remember complement and supplement. Okay, complement adds to 90, supplement adds to 180. So I am hoping for these examples you can do it using mental math. So if you have 60 degrees, what angle do you need to complement that to get to 90 degrees? Hopefully you can see that's 30 degrees. And to get to 180 degrees to supplement that angle, you would need 120 degrees. Okay, similarly, part B, you have 100 degrees. What do you need to get to 90 degrees? This angle actually has no complement. We say none. Okay, because you would need it to be negative 10 degrees. Okay, because 100 plus negative 10 degrees would give 90, but it cannot be negative. Okay, and that's true of the complement and the supplement. And so then to think, what angle do I need to complete the supplement? I need 80 degrees. Okay, so this part really is just a matter of remembering those words from geometry.